everyone. Happy Friday. We made it to the weekend. I'm so excited to be here with y'all today and to talk to you about my big secret to selling and serving. I'm going to share this really quickly into my Facebook group, the Lit Up and Loaded Entrepreneur, and then we are going to get started. I am live streaming on my business page this time. Normally I do it in my group, but I want to make sure that they get it too. So let me do that, and then we'll get started. I'm like really bad at multitasking, y'all. So there we go. Anybody else is bad at this as I am? Okay, so easily distracted, which is why I always do it in my group or always just live stream into my group because I'm so easily distracted when I have to share it in there. Okay, cool. I'm so excited to talk to y'all today. I am hosting a sleepover at my house in just a little while. For some of my good friends that are also entrepreneurs in this arena and in this business. And so I am getting ready for that and really just excited to have this conversation with you because I think it's been something that has been coming up so much on like client calls. I've been seeing it in the group. I've obviously been talking about it a lot this week, but I think that especially as women, we're so service oriented that sometimes it can feel like selling is like the antithesis of that, or that there's not a way to both sell and serve, or that there's not a way for us to serve ourselves in the process. And that's the stuff that we have to get rid of, right? Like there has to be a way for us to both serve our people, our tribe, our community while serving ourselves and making sales. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So the big secret, don't you love how I title it like that? The big secret is that your serving has to be serving you, right? And what I mean by that is when you're putting out content, serving your tribe, doing live stream, doing video, creating that course, whatever the thing is that you're doing, I want that to feel like it's serving you because I think we get so far away from this in this space where it feels like just the grind and the hustle of like, get the content out, get the thing done. And then when it comes to actually selling, we're almost overwhelmed to even like have another client or write the sales post or make the sale because it's like, God, I just put so much work into even serving and now I got to serve more. It feels crazy, right? If you're watching, say hi, tell me what you're doing this weekend. Tell me if you totally get this, right? Where it's like sometimes we can serve to the point that we feel burnt out. And so selling doesn't even feel good, right? But I was actually having this conversation with a client recently, and we were talking about how like the fact that we like get to show up every day, make our own schedule basically, and just talk about and write about what we want is like quite literally the dream, right? Imagine if you're still in your 9-to-5 or when you were, like the idea of just being able to like do what you want, talk about what you want and write about what you want all day, every day felt like, I mean, just like the ultimate goal, right? And so sometimes when we get into this space, we forget that that's actually the thing here and that's what we get to do. And so that should serve us as much as it's serving our audience, right? So like coming on here and talking to y'all and doing this live stream and connecting with you should be of service to me as much as it is to you, right? Because I should feel lit up and excited and stoked to talk about this information. Like I was saying earlier, I'm hosting a sleepover. Sounds so cheesy. I'm like 30 years old and hosting a sleepover, but I am. So there's that. But I'm hosting a sleepover tonight and with other women entrepreneurs. And the thing is like, this is stuff I would want to talk about anyway. Does that make sense? Like if I went to a party tonight, when I host my sleepover, whatever it is, like the stuff I'm talking about and writing content about and like showing up on live stream and talking about is stuff I would want to talk about anyway. So the big secret to selling and serving is to make serving serve yourself, because that's when selling feels fun and exciting and energetically balanced and good, because you're not so drained from serving that you don't even want to make the sale, right? I have so many clients that come to me and they say like, I want to get a new client. I want another client. But then when we really look at it, like they don't actually want a new client. They're basically pushing them away because they feel so drained by all they're doing just to show up and serve, right? And so the thought of like somebody else that's going to have expectations of them and need to be served even better, even more, even whatever, feels so draining. So I want you to think about in your business, like, how can I get as much from my serving as my audience, or as I feel like I'm giving, right? That could look like you just talking more about what you want to talk about. That could look like you doing more video because you actually hate writing. It could look like you not doing video because you actually love writing. It could look like you just giving yourself permission to talk about what you want to talk about each day, right? Now, I'm a big fan of a content plan, don't get me wrong, but the point is when it starts to feel bad is when us serving others feels like it's just draining us. Does that make sense? So whatever it is for you, whether it's like having a strict structure that's hurting you, not actually talking about the things you want to talk about because some coach, 2 years ago told you that nobody wants to hear what you have to say, or what you have to say on this topic that you want to talk about, or whatever, like that's the stuff we have to fix. Because if the content you're putting out, if the way you're serving, if the course you're creating, whatever, isn't something you'd want to do anyway, like if it isn't something you'd want to go to a party tonight and talk about, if it isn't something that you would look at when you were in your 9-to-5 as like the ultimate goal of being able to like say, speak, and talk about and write about whatever you wanted, then it's not serving you, and it's going to be way harder to make sales, right? So when we're thinking about combining the selling and the serving, what happens is that if the serving on the front end to get the sale feels so draining, like one, our audience feels that, and two, we feel that. So we don't even want to get that client on the back end. Does anybody resonate with that? Like, have you ever felt like the serving piece drains you so much that the selling piece feels like you just can't even think about it or do it? If so, drop me an emoji. Or if you've been there and overcome that, tell me that too. Tell me, what did that look like for you? If you just want to say hi, do that too. But basically the point is we have to make serving feel fun so that selling feels fun. Because most of the time when clients are telling me selling feels really heavy, it's because serving also feels really heavy for them at that moment. Does that make sense? Like, because they're not getting lit up by the content they're putting out, because they're having to like do it in this certain way, or they're talking about stuff that they don't actually want to be talking about, and it becomes so draining. So I really want you to think about, how can I make serving feel good to me? Because that will help me make selling feel good to me. How do I make creating, putting things out there, writing content, making videos, whatever it is, feel really fun and exciting, so that selling is a natural byproduct of that rather than this heavy thing, right? So how we get to do this work is our choice, and it is also our gift. Like, again, I was talking to a client, and the fact that like we just get to speak about and sell and share and talk about and write about whatever we want all day long is like such a gift. We just have to keep remembering that that's true for us. Not like, oh, but my coach told me I had to write on this, or, oh, but I have to say it in this way. Certainly we can put strategy around it. I'm not just advocating for like, go out and say whatever you want whenever you want, but don't put strategy around it until it feels good to you, until you actually like your message, until you're like, oh, I would talk about that shit all day anyway, right? I had a client book an intensive with me recently, and we like dove into her message, and this one piece kept coming up for her where she was like, oh yeah, I love that. I mean, I talk about that all the time, but I know it's not like the thing I can sell. And I was like, since when is that not the thing you can sell? Like, you want to talk about it all the time. You're super stoked about it. It's the thing that you feel like has gotten you results. Like, why are we not selling that, right? So if you're not serving yourself with the way you're serving your audience, you're not really going to be able to sell in the way you want to, right? So The other thing is like the energetics of that. Like we can all tell when someone's super stoked on their message and super not, right? So that's an important piece too. Like if you're talking about something you're passionate about, that you care about, if you're putting that in your content, if you're showing up in that way, if your serving is serving you, your energy is so good. People do watch that one live stream and want to buy from you. They read that one piece of content and are sold because you are so sold on what you're doing. Right? I talk about this all the time. The first tenet of value-centered sales is get sold on yourself first, right? So get sold on whatever you're selling through your service, right? When you're talking, when you're writing, make sure it's about stuff that you're super excited about and sold on, because that will change the energy and change the dynamic of how you're selling it. So when we are not selling in a way that feels good or not serving in a way that feels good, what happens is we just get so damn scared to make the sale because it feels even heavier, right? We're like, oh my God, it already feels so freaking draining to even be like writing this content. Imagine getting a client, right? But when we're the opposite, when we're like, oh my God, it feels so good to like pump out this content because I want to talk about this shit anyway and I want it to help somebody and it feels really good for me. Then when we get the sale, it's like the next level of that, like that next piece of excitement, that next way to serve ourselves and serve others, right? That's why I always talk about even energy exchange in everything, is that like we need to be getting served in everything that we're doing. And here's the kicker. It has to not look like action, result, action, result, action, result, meaning it can't look like, well, I served you, so you better buy from me. Or like, I put that post out, why is nobody buying? It has to look like I put that post out because it felt really freaking good to put that post out and because I want to talk to people and because this is a conversation I want to have and because I want to connect around this, right? That's when we get super detached from the selling. Y'all know I talk about detachment all the time. And that's when the selling gets easy, right? So for me, and this is going to sound kind of weird, but this is important, is like the way I sell and the way I serve, though they're deeply connected in the sense that like I know what my process is, like I know how if I put out great content and connect with people, people want to buy from me. I know to ask for the sales, stuff like that. But as far as like in my mind as being connected as in like action result, they're like not connected at all. Like I'm showing up and serving because like I feel like I'm meant to do this and I want to do this and I want to have these conversations and I want to be here with y'all. Does that make sense? So like I've already won before anything else happens. Like I already won by hanging out with you guys today. I already won by talking to y'all. Do you guys resonate with that? Like this idea of like, I've already won by just showing up and putting this thing out and having this conversation. If you do, drop me an emoji below, give me a little heart, let me know what you think. But I think that that's so true for me. Like, and I think it's so true for all my clients that feel like they're doing work that's important to them and that they feel really connected to. So like when they're showing up and serving, it feels like it's just good. It's just good. It's not good based on how many people like it. It's not good based on how many sales they make off of it. It's good because by them serving, they're serving themselves. Yeah. Kate Boyd with the praise hands. Yes, totally. You're such a great example of this. Like you just like and are excited by what you're talking about. So you want to keep talking about it, right? So whether you get 27 likes on that post or 2, it doesn't really matter because you've already won, right? And from there, selling, it's super easy, right? Because you're already connected with people. You've already feel lit up. You already feel like your cup is full. And so asking for the sale is like this natural progression of like, hey, let's take the next step versus like this other draining thing that you have to do. So for me, serving is like over here, right? Like I serve because I want to. And then receiving from that or making the sale is over here. Like I make the sale because this is the work I'm supposed to do, right? So when we stop connecting the two so specifically, like serving and selling have to look like this constant perfect energy exchange all the time, that's when we get frustrated. When we're already getting an energy exchange just from serving, then the selling just comes pretty easily from there, right? Debbie, thank you. Kate says, for sure, I find that passion point and it will feel easier and I'm already moving forward. my cause and purpose just by sharing. Exactly. And I think that's where selling and serving can get so depleting when you're like, I'm serving. Where's my sale? We get so attached, right? And then we're like, well, now I'm not serving right. So now I have to go figure out how to serve right or do it better or put strategy around it. And then I start to hate it even more and it starts to drain me even more, right? And then I'm super attached to making the sale because now I'm so drained by this. And it becomes this vicious cycle where instead, if we were like, hey, like just like Kate said, me just putting this out there is forwarding my cause and my purpose, is moving me forward on my cause and my purpose. It feels good to me. It feels exciting to me. I feel like the luckiest freaking person on the planet that I get to just show up and talk about this shit all day, every day, right? Then the selling piece starts to come to us really naturally because we're kind of unattached to it. People start reaching out. People start going, hey, that post that you made, like I super resonate with that. Can I talk to you more? Or like, hey, can we get on a call because I'm loving what you're saying? And listen, I'm a big fan of ask for the sale, so I'm not advocating don't do that. And I'm also a big fan of strategy, so I'm not advocating don't do that. I'm just saying those things come way after we serve ourselves, right? So we have to serve by serving ourselves. And when we do, things feel good. Then we add the ask for the sale every third time you put out content. Ask in this way, put strategy around it here. But if you don't have that foundation, none of that shit matters, right? I worked with a client recently in an intensive, and basically she's been doing all the right strategy for a really long time. She just hated her message, honestly, because someone had told her that the previous thing that she like wanted to work on was never going to sell. So she was doing all those right things, but one, she felt really drained by it, and two, it wasn't getting her sales, even though she was like technically executing the perfect strategy, right? And what it came back to was like, anytime she was serving, it wasn't serving her. It didn't feel good. It didn't feel exciting. It felt like, you know, like pulling her hair out to write content, you know? I had another client who hates writing content and just really loves getting on video. So we changed that up, right? Kate, I know you've experienced this in different ways where you've like done more content via video and then had it transcribed because that felt better for you. So I really, really want you to know the big secret is that serving should serve you, because that's how you get unattached to selling, and that's how you actually make the sale, right? So if you're struggling with this, look at where your serving isn't serving you. So figure out if it's that way you're writing content, if it's your message, if it's like how much pressure you feel to be in your community all the time. Like, I'm going to do a whole other thing on Facebook groups, but, you know, there is a way where like, of course we want to serve our community, but it's not like they have to run us either. You don't have to respond every time someone has a question in your group, right? Like, how can you serve in a way that serves you? Debbie says, when you help your clients from your heart and know they truly want what you can teach them, it's not really selling. It's serving them in their needs. Take the yuck out. Absolutely. I love that. Yeah. It just becomes like a natural progression, right? Where it's not like, well, I served you, so now you have to buy from me. Like, I actually had this, someone messaged me, like, this was quite a while ago, but she was basically like, I want you to tell me how to get 100% of my Facebook group to convert because I'm pissed that I'm serving them so much and they're not buying from me. And I was like, so we're probably not the right fit, because one, you're not going to get 100%. And two, like, why are you so pissed at your audience, right? Because serving isn't feeling good to you is the whole point, right? It's not them. It's that you're doing it saying, you better buy from me. You better buy from me. You owe me something. You owe me something. Not like, so this is my purpose work and this is my mission. I'm just going to keep showing up and doing it, right? Kate says, yes, it changes all the time for me on how I show up. So I just go with it and grace for myself and figure out how to spread it further after. For sure. And that's, I think, such a great point too, is that's another reason that serving can burn us out, because we feel like we have to like do it in so many places in so many ways. Like how you're saying, like more like, let me figure out how to spread it further after. So like if I do that video, if I do that post, like how am I getting it everywhere? As opposed to feeling like I need to do a video for Facebook and then a post for Instagram and then a post for this and a post for that. Like, stop putting all the rules on it first and do what Kate said, is like figure out what works for you and what you like, then figure out how to spread it after that, right? Because again, like the more you burn yourself out serving, the harder it is to sell, the more selling feels heavy, the more you don't actually even energetically want to make the sale, right? Because you're like, oh, it's just gonna be one more thing and I can barely even keep up with my content. Well, figure out how to make that fun. Figure out how that serves you. I think a big thing for me is that like the less I've like had to do stuff in my business, the more I want to. Like I create so much content right now. My OBM Megan is like, oh my God, okay. But I have help repurposing it. I don't mind doing it because it really serves me at this point. I have so much content, I could probably not write anything for the next year, but I want to, right? Because I like it. It serves me. It feels good. And when I need a break, I can take it. But the point is, I still want to because I want to, not because I have to, right? So figure out how to make that true for you, whether it's repurposed content or just that you prefer video over writing, or that you need to tweak your message a little bit because you're kind of sick of talking about this and you really want to be talking about this. And then it gets easier and easier and easier. And then I think that second piece is that mindset shift of like, serving doesn't equal selling. They're almost like two completely separate things. Like you serve your audience and yourself because that feels good and you want to. You sell to your audience and get paid because that feels good and you want to. Like they don't have to be the same thing, right? So I hope that helps. I hope that that gives you some permission. I think permission is such a big thing here to like go back and look at like how you can do this in a way that serves you, how you can create some posts that feel exciting and, you know, help you get lit up, right? Because that is the key here. And that's what will put the right energy out for what you're putting out so that people actually do want to buy from you, actually are reaching out to you, versus when you put it out with that attachment to it, like we feel that, right? Like if you go into a date and you're like so attached to getting married and finding your next husband, like that energy comes across, right? If you're like, hey, I'm just showing up as me, just hanging out, just seeing how you are, how I am, if we match, like totally different, right? Kate said I do that for my clients too. They get to create in their flow and I take it, create smaller pieces and make it work for everywhere else. But they feel awesome and their content is better because it's their zone of showing up and creating all about that permission. Exactly. Totally. So that's a great point too. Like sometimes we get bogged down in the like, now what do I do with it all? Well, two things. If it feels really good to you, like you're not going to mind figuring out how to get it everywhere, or you can just have someone help you get it everywhere, right? Maggie says, I love selling from a place of love and service and value. It feels so good. Graspy isn't sexy in relationships, whether business or personal. Maggie is totally our relationship expert, so she knows this. But exactly, it's like when we're only serving because we want to sell, we're graspy as hell, right? We're so attached and it feels so clear that that's what's happening. When we're serving because we're meant to serve and selling because we're meant to serve, and they don't even have to be connected in our brains necessarily, then it gets easy. Katrina says it's such a relief to create without attachment. Exactly. And listen, I get it. Like I know the game where like if you have to make a sale and you want to get that client, that it feels like, well, of course I'm going to do this live stream and get the client. But the point is it should feel good anyway. So like, I'm going to talk to you about a program I have open in about a minute, right? But it's like not even, it doesn't matter. Like if I just got off now, this would still have felt good and lit me up and been something that I was excited that I did. Like when I go to bed tonight and put my head on the pillow, like this is still going to feel good to me no matter what, right? No matter if someone gets the thing or not. And if they don't, I'm just going to show up tomorrow and do it again. And the next day and the next day. And even if it doesn't sell, right? I mean, it's going to sell because I always give value. But the point is that it's not why. Does that make sense? So in your business, if you're doing that thing where you're connecting at action, result, action, result, action, result, action, result, and making yourself crazy, try this separation. Try this piece where you're like, how would it feel good to serve today? How would it feel good to sell today? And kind of let the rest go for a minute, right? Then once that starts to feel good, you can put that strategy back around it, but that's your place to start, right? So let me tell you about what I got since we're talking about serving and selling. I have a program called Value-Centered Sales, which is like my heart. I just love it. It's all about selling in a value-centered way. So again, just like figuring out what feels good to you. What's your message? How are you feeling excited about that? And then how do we communicate the value of that? So we start with what excites you, and then we figure out how to put strategy around it, just like we talked about, right? And it's all about doing sales in a way that feel good to you. So like none of that sleazy crap about like, you guys, I actually heard this one time. Ooh, how about selling your grandmother's ring to be, or it might not have been grandmother. I could be making that up. I think it was selling her ring. It doesn't matter. The point is, you're not going to be asking them to take out a loan or a credit card or sell a family heirloom. You're going to figure out how to sell in a way that actually feels good to you, so that not only does serving feel like it's serving you, but selling also is going to be serving you, right? But the thing is, I've run value-centered sales a couple different ways. So the first time I did it as like a small group program, I think we had 10 people. The second time I did it more as like a DIY with an intensive upgrade, I think we had like 45 people. And the point is that it's been good both of those times and exciting, but I really feel like the thing that matters in figuring out your sales process is having someone to look at your business and go, this is what's true for you, because my sales process looks different than Maggie's, than Kate's, than Katrina's, whatever, right? The thing that excites me looks totally different than them. The thing that I need to go back to and like serve myself around looks different. So I'm doing it totally different this time because I really, really, really like with my whole heart believe in this program, but I want to like dive all in with you. Like I want to be in your business. So it's going to be a mastermind. It's only 3 people. So we're going through all the value-centered sales content, but we're doing it together, only 3 of us on group calls every week. 2 of the spaces are already taken. So there's literally 1 space left, and we start November 13th. And it's just going to be awesome. I'll drop a link so you guys can see what it's about. But basically, like, if you're not making sales, this is the thing to dive into, because we're going to figure out how to create a sales process that actually works for you. And we're going to incorporate the stuff that we talked about today, which is like, what do you just feel excited to share? Like, let's start there. And then how do we start creating a message around that and making sales around that? So if you're at a place in your business, sorry, I'm going to readjust here. If you're at a place in your business where you maybe have an idea of what you want to do, or maybe you've been doing what you're doing for a long time, but it's time to get back to that place where it feels fun, and then you have a replicable process that actually makes you sales from there. This is it. And we only have 1 spot left. Again, we start November 13th. I'll put the link so you can learn more about it. But it's going to be good. I'm pretty excited about it. And I'm really excited to do it 3 people only. Like I said, I believe in this program with my whole heart, but I'm going to keep testing it until we find the perfect way to make sure our people are getting crazy results from it. And I think this is it, but I don't know that I'll ever do it this small again. So if you want to get in, let me know. And I would love to know like what just lights you up about serving your audience. So we're talking about letting serving serve you. Tell me what that piece is. Like, what could you talk about all day, right? Like, again, I'm having a sleepover tonight. What would you talk about if you were having a sleepover? Like, would you really want people to be like talking about selling? Because I know I would. If I went to a party tonight and somebody wanted to talk to me about selling, I'd be like, oh yeah, let's do this, right? So tell me what that thing is for you. I would love to know. And I hope you guys have a beautiful weekend, and I hope you lean into this being your secret is to let your serving serve you, and then to let your selling be a natural byproduct of that. So I love you guys. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye.